Hello, everyone. My name is Vala Afshar, and welcome to DisrupTV. I'm the Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to follow us on Twitter at DisrupTV Show. Please send us your questions using hashtag DisrupTV, and Ray, myself, and our distinguished guests will do our best to answer your questions through the show and then certainly after the show. It is my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wong, best-selling author of Disrupting Digital Business, CEO and co-founder of Constellation Research, regular contributor to Harvard Business Review, Forbes, ZDNet, and other publications, and most importantly, one of the best followers on Twitter at RWANG0. Welcome, Ray.
Hey, hello, Vala from Austin, Texas. So I'm really excited to introduce my co-host, Vala Afshar, and more importantly, he is one of the top influencers for CIOs, CMOs around the world, contributor to HuffPost, author, and more importantly, a really great friend. So, hey, who do we have here? You just left Austin. I'm still in Austin. What are we featuring this week?
Yeah, so today we're featuring the technology innovation and the boom and incredible work that's happening in the Austin area. We're going to start the show with our first guest, Jim Messer, founder and CEO of GoTransverse. Jim has spent the past 25 years focused on telecommunications and the IT industry. He served as the vice president of sales at LHS Group, one of the largest implementation and support networks in the global customers care and billing marketplace, with more than 300 customer sites worldwide and 18 global and regional partners. Jim later served as vice president of sales for SEMA Group, which became the world's leader in communication software and solutions after the acquisition of LHS for $4.75 billion. He participates as a partner in the Spectrum 5 LLC, the largest holder of DBS Spectrum, with full US coverage. You can follow his company on Twitter at GoTransverse, GoTransverse. Welcome, Jim, to DisrupTV.
Thank you very much, Vala.
Hey, welcome, Jim. Thanks for being here. You know, we are entering a world of what we call offering management. And that means we're not just selling products anymore. We're also selling services, insights, experience, and even outcomes. What are your clients asking for? Because you've built a business around this.
You know, I think at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. They want to drive revenue and reduce costs. You know, of course, speed to market and getting those new revenue streams out there. These are what are really driving it. And then at the end of the day, it's about the data. They want to gain visibility into that quote to cash lifecycle. So they want the ability to look at that data in near real time or real time, and they want to really have further insight into the utilization of their services. And that can really only be provided by that usage and dramatically enhanced when the usage can carry metadata that we support.
So the product alone is not enough, right? They're not just selling products, right? I mean, they've got to figure out how to bill for something else, right?
No, that's correct. Basically, if you can measure it, we can monetize it. So it really is up to those companies to look at how they want to build these new revenue streams. And we have clients that are traditional hardware companies that are looking to launch new lines of revenue. And that's the basis of a subscription plus a usage-based service. Usually, the common denominator is, you know, there's some sort of usage coming off of that product or service.
Was that the impetus? And you know, tell us about why you founded GoTransverse and what you saw missing in the market, and perhaps what you saw that you could do better to serve customers.
Sure. For the last before founding GoTransverse, I had helped establish and operate 3 of what became very large billing companies. And each time we established one of those market leaders, it was to address a void in the marketplace, whether it be GSM billing on a global basis, whether it be broadband or satellite billing, whether it be IP billing, et cetera. But in the late 80s, it became very, very clear that those big enterprise software companies we built had a real problem when it came to the advent of cloud-based services. People were going to want to launch products fast, and the companies we built, the revenue model was really about that classic enterprise software change management model. What you see, of course, traditional with Oracle, SAP, all the big software companies, and the reason they were so valuable. But in cloud services, that just simply doesn't work. So we had to build a platform that had the same robust functionality that we used to sell for $100 million, maybe $1 billion project, but it had to service all of our customers on the same code base, and you could not rely on it to be customized. It had to be configured. So we knew it had to be a native cloud platform with modern software architectures that critically has to be able to leverage the elasticity that's inherent in a native cloud solution provided by the cloud. So that was really why we did that, because no other billing company in the marketplace could do that. And it had to be technology or platform agnostic.
Makes sense. Makes total sense.
This makes a lot of sense. Now, what you're talking about sounds like it's much more than a billing platform. You are actually in the monetization business here. And so, I mean, why do customers choose your solutions? And when do they realize they need you?
You know, that's an excellent question. So traditionally, billing has been a very, very large multi-billion-dollar industry in three primary markets that are very sophisticated: telecom, utilities, and financial services. There's some outliers, medical, legal, et cetera, but that really isn't the difficulty that you see in a telecom environment, for instance, where you have billions of real-time events that are either processed in real time, near real time, and batch. And then you have global roaming. You have a heavy regulatory burden. You know, every country is different in their regulations. So you don't get that experience except for being in the trenches and having that domain expertise. That domain expertise really comes from being in those very expensive problems and solving them for your customers. So now when we flash forward into this new market that we're in, where we have software companies and we have logistics companies and a lot of industries are, and of course the advent of IoT, where we have IP-enabled devices on everything. But these people, it's come so fast that they never had the time to really have the pain and suffering and understand the complexities of enterprise billing. So that's really was a big impetus on why we came into the space and try to give that deep domain expertise, and they choose us for that. I mean, it's an expensive education that we had, and you know, just one of the companies that we built in the past is larger than all of our cloud-based billing companies in the industry today. So I mean, we're in our infancy right now. This is going to be magnificently large, and it had to be built, and it doesn't happen overnight. So that's why we got in there. Our customers then choose us because we give them a concierge service. You know, so we hold their hands through the implementation. We work with sophisticated partners that are, depending on what customer it is, some we handle all by ourselves. And then, of course, our technology stack was built off of that domain expertise. So the combination between the technology and the domain expertise is why customers choose us.
Sure. So, Jim, this is going to sound like name dropping, and it is. Ray and I spent the last couple of days with Don Tapscott, one of the world's top thinkers, focusing on blockchain revolution. And then yesterday with Dr. Clay Christensen, Harvard Business Professor, author of Innovator's Dilemma. And the conversation with both of these extraordinary leaders centered around disruption and digital immigrant in organizations, companies that weren't born in the cloud, that weren't born mobile first or social, and what they need to do to not only grow but stay relevant. And so your background, you came from telco. What are some of the lessons you learned from telco that may not be applicable today for companies that are trying to go through that digital transformation journey?
Yeah, so the telecom billing background, as I alluded to, really enabled us to experience highly varied business models and processes. You know, no two major telecom companies do business the same, and they all viewed their monetization strategies as something being proprietary and special to them. Although I'd love to argue and say that at the end of the day, they were all trying to do the same thing and wasting a tremendous amount of money trying to be different. But when we go into a native web platform, you know, it has more of the power and the flexibility to deliver the same capabilities at a fraction of the cost on a global basis, including as a dedicated or localized instance to support the stringent regulatory or other landscapes that you encounter. So, you know, today the environment, although we have a naive customer base, for the most part, our telecom clients are still quite sophisticated now as we add utility customers that are moving into the space. But you know, those are struggles. So telecom, once again, it really just comes down to, we've been there. We face so many, you know, the situational awareness that you have when your customers can potentially lose billions of dollars makes you really smart, and they throw a lot of resources at it. We happen to be grew up in an environment where trillions of dollars were being invested into telecom companies with new spectrum allocations, et cetera. So we got to see, you know, that situational awareness grows on a global basis. We were able to bring that into uniquely, and I would love for someone to call me out on it. I don't think there's another billing company in the cloud space that really had the benefit of that expensive education. Billing, I would challenge you to tell me another industry that that you can't go to Silicon Valley and you can't just hire the smartest guys and put them in a room and throw a lot of money at them and tell them to develop a good billing system, because they don't have the benefit of that expensive education in the past. There's a lot of gotchas, and you had to have been there and seen your customers or you suffer as a result of those mistakes in that learning process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking about Silicon Valley, we are in how do you fucking hills? Are we what? Austin is like massive tech scene popping up here, right? And it's been for some time, and we see a lot of enterprise vendors here. Tell us about the scene in Austin. So
you guys remind me of that every time I see my tax bill on my house. So you're jacking up the rates on us, and our traffic's getting really bad. But we'll blame that on ourselves for having a very unique scene. I think if you look at the history of Austin, and everyone tells me how fast it's growing, it really isn't growing any faster than it has since 1880. We've doubled in size every 20 years. It's just that the numbers are getting bigger, and our planning hasn't prepared for it. Of course, you know, the economics between California and here are much different, and that makes it attractive for us to draw a lot of people. And Texas is a very, very pro-business environment. And Austin is a little oasis in Texas that's very unique unto itself. We take ourselves very serious in business, but yet, as you probably see, we have more than 200 local live music bands playing every night, more than 200 clubs and more than 200 acts each night. And that's on a Sunday or a Monday. So you get on a weekend, and you know it's a different flavor here. You obviously know about our festivals. We had MotoGP, the Grand Prix of the Americas, biggest motorcycle race in the world, last weekend in town, and almost nobody knew about it. You know, so the town has grown up. I've been in and out of Austin since the 80s, and I would say it's as good as it's ever been. You know, the music scene's as good as it is. A lot of the old locals will complain about it, but there's pros and cons. Other than traffic and real estate prices, you know, it's a very, very special place. But I do want to remind you, Californians, when you want to move to Austin, we have terrible allergies here, and you guys really need to think about your health before you come here.
So you're trying to keep people out of here. Anyone crowding up the Austin Food and Wine Festival.
That's a good point. I think that's coming up this weekend, and I hope you have your ticket.
That is this weekend.
That's probably why you're still in town, actually.
I was trying to get a ticket. I apparently have to get a Craigslist, and there's some shady dealings where I got to bring an envelope of cash in order to get my ticket. But what's recruiting like? What's talent like? I mean, do you see the right folks? I mean, is it easy to develop? I mean, you got UT nearby, but how does that work?
That's an excellent question, and it is one of the big challenges right now. But it's a challenge anywhere where you have a fertile ground of very qualified talent. Right now, just recently in the last 6 months, we've seen some very big Silicon Valley firms make very large investments in Austin that have really stressed out especially the developer base. So that is a challenge. Historically, our company's had a very, very low attrition rate. I think that helps because we're headquartered at 7th and Congress, you know, in the heart of the entertainment district, in a funky place, and people can get out and experience the world. You really can't do that in Silicon Valley, you know, so there's a lot of soul here. But at the same time, you know, numbers speak, and we've been seeing some wage inflation in the last 6 months of up to 40%. Some of the offers. Now, you know, the grass isn't always greener, and those people come back. We've found, but yeah, there's no hiding that's an issue. We need to get better about developing our local talent. The University of Texas and the other, you know, there's more than 100,000 university students in the metropolitan area. You know, and we need to also get those programs in high school. They've gotten much better over the last decade, but there's other ways to feed that talent into town. But it's been a struggle.
The average price of an Austin home has gone up from $332,000 to $400,000 in Austin proper. So we're definitely seeing that on the real estate side. Go ahead.
That's amazing. Well, you know, you talked about the soul of Austin, and the soul of a company certainly is shaped by starting at the top with the CEO. So, Jim, advice to startup founders who are looking to become talent magnets. What do you have to do as a CEO to cultivate the right culture and right behavior so that people want to come work for you?
Yeah, I think that's in every organization is going to be different for us, and I'm not just saying this because it's Austin. We have a very, very close, almost family-like atmosphere that really revolves around nightlife and having a good time. So if you know, we have 2 to 3 bands play each one of our parties, for instance, and these are world-class bands that you could really only get in a town like this, maybe New Orleans, maybe Nashville at a smaller level. You know, yeah, we have all the Silicon Valley perks that you see around with, you know, some subsidized or free lunches and kegs of beer and everything else. But at the end of the day, we've got soul here that you don't find in other markets. And each company has their individual personality as well. So our headquarters, for instance, is in one of the oldest buildings in Austin. It's built in 1859, and they stored Confederate gold in the basement. You know, so you don't get that in Silicon Valley. If you do, tell me about it, because I'll be there. But you know, you don't get that in another building in Austin either. So there you go. But the point is we all have a different recipe for it. We've had very little attrition. I think it's because we built a fast-growing business without getting any outside funding, except from the initial founders. So, you know, we hit our business plan fast. We stayed with the original group of people. We built them up from the ground up, made them domain experts, and then we recruited to help build and scale the company. So everybody's got a different formula. For us, it's just being ourselves and staying focused on what we're doing. And as they said in Spinal Tap, have a good time all the time.
I'm sensing a ton of ATX pride here. So let's go back a little bit back to the business models and people making the shifts, right? A lot of the work that we work with, our clients are looking for transformation changes. They're definitely evolving into business models. You know, we just came out of this Salesforce Higher Education Summit this week, and in the education sector, I mean, there's a different business model, right? For, you know, on-demand education versus tuition education. There's different business models with licensing models and in athletics, right? Especially what they're doing with their teams and licensing, branding, merchandising. That's like a whole nother business model. There's things that are happening with digital IP and IP rights and things that universities are building, whether it's patents and patent troves. And so we're seeing all these different business models. And when we talk about monetization and what's happening in there, all these organizations need some level of help. And in most cases, they're looking at 7, 8, 10 different types of systems to handle those business models. When you think about the challenges that your customers are addressing, are they going after one business model? Are they putting everything on your platform? Are they doing multiple things to address all those types of business models?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, and none of our clients really look alike. I wish they did, but we find out that everybody wants to do it in a different way. We find the most successful projects are from mature, well-funded companies who look for outside help. They'll often bring in a consultant or a systems integrator to help them define their requirements. They know that billing is difficult. The smart ones, they know that billing is difficult. They want an impartial outside eye to help them develop that. They need someone who could cut through the politics and say, you know what, it's going to be a lot more cost effective if we change our business processes as we develop our back office and do something that really makes sense. It doesn't have to be unique to us. Other people are trying to solve these problems. And then we don't see, even in the developed industries that were slow to adopt the cloud, and I'm going to go back to the ones that are also the most sophisticated in billing, telecom, utilities, financial services. They're the late adopters of these modern back offices because they're investments in billions of dollars. Quite often, it's hard to say no to that and that old mainframe stuff, and you know that they're still relying on. But once they do decide to go forward on this stuff, the ones that really get it right, they dedicate resources to it. They have people that can make decisions. They have proper project planning, and they go to native cloud solutions. You don't find many people that say, you know, I really got to have this on-prem. You know, let's really, that's my requirement. You know, nothing else. Now we're seeing decisions. This blew me away. In the last 2 years, we're seeing CFOs make CIO decisions, and they're very binary. These are requirements. Can you do it? At what cost? What are the SLAs? Are you a viable company? All right, we could do business. You know, and we're seeing some of the biggest car companies in the world. We're with 2 of the largest communication service providers in the world with their head of billing in a 7-day period. And now they're looking at native cloud solutions. They know that they can't launch non-traditional telecom services fast with their legacy platforms. So they're looking for outside help. I know I was a little all over the place, Ray, on your question, but I hope I addressed it.
Sure. No problem. Jim, my final question to you as, again, CEO of a growing, successful company, responsible for being a visionary and defining the strategy. Where do you go for research? Who inspires you? You know, who are some of your mentors? I think these are things that would help, you know, again, aspiring company founders and CEOs would love to learn from you.
Yeah, you know, we're in a kind of an esoteric space. I hate to say it, it's not sexy or anything else. You know, it's domain expertise and technology, and we try to put those together and help our customers get paid, because as we say, if you're not getting paid for it, it's an expensive hobby. So billing is business critical. You know, we're fun people, but at the end of the day, we're very, very serious about our customers getting paid and making sure revenue leakage doesn't take place and they get the revenue fast, et cetera. On the research side, not many people can help me out with that except for some macroeconomic data, where the market's going, et cetera. And we look to the Gartners, the Forresters. There's a specific company called MGI Research that focuses in our space that really knows cloud technology and billing well. But as far as mentors, I mean, that's really what makes you, the people that you follow since you're a little kid, whether they be a coach that gave you that corporal discipline as a testosterone-laden young man, that kept you on the straight and narrow so that you could accomplish your goals. Or it's, successful business people, it's all software executives, the Larry Ellisons of the world that built massively successful companies from the ground up. I don't think people understand how difficult that is. At the end of the day, I'm from a farming family in North Dakota, and if you've ever seen a farmer work, I mean, those guys, I'll put them up against any software executive any day of the week. Who can do whose job? So there's a lot of people that make you up as an individual. I used to work for Senator Bob Dole, and he amazed me with such integrity. And if you don't have integrity and come to the job each day with that as your backbone, then you've got nothing. So it's not a simple answer, but from farmers to the Larry Ellisons and the Bob Doles of the world, those are the people that kind of make you up. And my mom raised 4 boys, so I got to look to a woman like that as well.
Terrific.
The one and only Jim Messer, founder and CEO at GoTransverse, and you can actually catch them on the company site at GoTransverse, GoTransverse. They are a monetization billing platform, and more importantly, changing the way digital transformation happens. So thanks a lot for being on the show, and hello from Austin.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.
You as well. Thank you very much. That was terrific advice, man. That was terrific.
Look at the pride. Look at the pride. There's a lot of soul here. I'll give him that. So,
Absolutely.
Amazing. So who do we have next?
Yeah, so it's, again, a privilege and honor for us to have Cheryl Sullivan, Chief Marketing Officer and Strategy Officer at Ravionics, with us as our second guest. Cheryl is a proven retail and CPG product management executive with 20 years of experience in driving product strategy, product management, and program management initiatives. Prior to joining Ravionics, Cheryl was Director of Product Strategy for Oracle Retail, driving vision, strategy, roadmap across all category management, assortment, pricing, promotion, and space solutions. Prior to Oracle, Cheryl served as VP of Product Management for both EMS and Spectrum Marketing, and VP of Category Management for Enactix and I2 Technologies. You can follow Cheryl on Twitter at CASWINDY. Welcome, Cheryl, to DisrupTV.
Welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks a lot for being on the show, Cheryl. Now, you're in a tough space. It's retail. The margins are horrible. People are being hammered. The companies are going bankrupt, right? Everything's being transformed because of Amazon, and people are responding back. So what does it mean for you guys? Like, what are you doing to help retailers fight that digital disruption and even change the playing field?
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up really well. It is hostile. It is chaotic. Retailers are struggling. They're doing gut changes that don't necessarily help them, especially their margins. Today with the digital disruption, it's not about just brick and mortar anymore. And you add in this, hyper well-connected shopper, the millennial shopper who is, I like to say they were born with a cell phone in one hand and a coupon in the other. So they're very price sensitive. They have, the store in the palm of their hand. They're able to check prices. And that's just really turned retail upside down. The same time with the internet, the competitor for the retailer is not around the block anymore. It's around the world. In fact, a recent study said 56% of shoppers said they would buy from a retailer on the other side of the world if they could get a better price. So price is critical for them. The old pricing strategies don't work anymore. Retail is detail, massive amounts of data. So how do you leverage that data to your advantage? So we've been doing this for about 12 years. So we introduced science when science wasn't really the big buzzword that it is today. And so, and of course, we've made a lot of advancements, but what we're able to do is optimize prices for retailers at any speed they want, whether that's the Amazon model of multiple times a day, or whether that's, once a week or daily. So the frequency is really up to them. But we look at the shopper behavior. We're able to understand using machine learning language that is also very predictive, so we can predict what's going to happen. We're able to understand the price sensitivities of that shopper. And at the same time, we're able, with the same type of science, to determine, if I change my price, what's my competitor going to do? And so for our customers, this has been dramatic. It's been key to their success. And a lot of retailers are now struggling to try to, come on board, but more importantly, try to figure it out. So between the shopper, between the kind of competitive market, and those that don't, originally they started that, let's just match prices, because they didn't know what else to do. So they implemented these price matching policies, which later found out that was just a race to the bottom, and nothing happened but a margin erosion. They're still trying to struggle with the promotions. So you're seeing, it's great for the shopper because you're seeing endless promotions everywhere. The downside is we train the shopper to wait. So they don't want the regular price. They know, I will wait a week, I will wait. We have some that will, I forget the stat, but it's like over a month they'll wait if they can get the product they want for the price that they want. So this is all just really turn the world upside down, but what we're able to do globally. And it's interesting because internationally, retailers are even more aggressive and progressive. So we have people doing dynamic price optimization similar to the Amazons, but for grocery, for online grocery.
That's terrific. Yeah, Ray painted I think a fairly accurate picture of what the retail industry is going through. And I continue to see the comparison of, if you take the combined market value of the top 5 brick and mortar retailers, Walmart, CVS, Costco, Target, Best Buy, I think the market cap adds to 410 billion. Today, the market cap of Amazon's at 444 billion. So it's amazing the shift into online, but more importantly, it seems like the digital currency in this hyper-connected economy, as you mentioned, is personalization, immediacy, and intelligent engagement. So, what advice do you have to retailers in terms of, and you mentioned, advanced analytics and perhaps artificial intelligence technologies. What advice do you have for retailers today to continue to stay relevant, and, as my good friend Ray says, achieve that ability for mass personalization at scale?
Yeah, so that is key. Is retailers that are surviving are those that are taking initiatives that make them relevant. And you'll see a lot of retailers are changing their store formats. You'll see a lot of discounters coming in. So you got the Aldis, you got Lidl that's on their way. You've got, the TJ Maxx's of the world and the Marshalls, like their business is booming, and it's because shoppers, it's not about the brand anymore. They're not brand loyal. They're not even product loyal. They're price loyal. So you're seeing a lot of that type of transition happening. The other is it's not just about the sorry, that just threw me. It's not just about the price, but it's also about changing those business processes. So you can't just introduce technology unless you also adjust the business processes to adopt that technology.
Makes sense.
And one of the interesting things you guys are doing, right? I mean, you guys are helping people figure out their pricing elasticity, when to do a promotion, when to do markdowns, how to even do space and even assortment. That's pretty crazy. There's a lot of science behind that. That's in the big data piece where people are using this. So how are retailers bringing that data together and then suddenly saying, oh my God, I actually have an answer in this that they weren't seeing before? What are you guys doing to make that happen? Because it looks like it's applied big data.
It is about big data, and it's a lot of data. So it is the shopper data. We even incorporate weather data. So it's about bringing all this big data together. And of course, it is about using the cloud technology. So, similar to James, we were in the cloud when retailers wouldn't even think about putting their pricing up in the cloud. That was their most sacred thing. So it is about bringing that all together. It is about applying science on top of that. It's about being able to also adhere to those business rules. So it's not just let the science run. It's also making sure that, you know, you've got good, better, best relationships. You're making sure if you change the price of one yogurt, is all yogurt's got that price. So it's really about leveraging that, but leveraging it in the cloud and being more agile, more nimble.
So what kind of results are retailers seeing when they apply, you know, your solutions and your capabilities?
So they're seeing huge results, and a lot of them, they're not afraid to speak about us publicly. So they even talk about us in their earnings reports, but they see anywhere to 2 to 4% increase in sales and margin. And they see about 3% increase in operating profit. And we've had customers that have seen 8 to 18 times ROI. And I think, you know, the analysts would also help support those numbers.
That's terrific.
I mean, those are real numbers, right? When your margins are 2 to 3% and your profit, I mean, you're barely making profit. I mean, these are significant growth models for organizations to actually jumpstart growth, which is different. When you think about what works, right, for clients, is it because they come in thinking about what they have to do in terms of those shifts? Is it because it's an outside piece of pressure? Like, what's driving these? I mean, what's driving them to come visit you guys?
What's driving them to come visit us is their margins. So in addition to the shopper, in addition to the competitors, you know, their costs are also increasing. So we have some customers that, you know, that are dollar type of stores, and so I can't pass those costs off onto my shoppers. So they're using the tool to be able to understand which products I need to be very, which ones shoppers are price sensitive on, and that I need to be very competitive. But it looks at the rest of the assortment, and there are other products that shoppers are willing to pay more, and you can actually raise your prices. And so it's really about looking at the entire assortment and protecting those margins. So they're coming to us because, one, they're competing against Amazon. Amazon's been doing this for quite some time. You know, we you know, customers eBags, right? So eBags is doing dynamic pricing because they live in that online world. So they know in order to remain relevant, the price is king.
So you're giving them Amazon capabilities so that they can compete against with Amazon, which they normally wouldn't have because they don't want to be anywhere near Amazon at this point.
Right. So we do what's called dynamic pricing, but the way we talk about that is it's really high frequency pricing. And, you know, but if you're in a store, you're obviously not going to want to be changing prices, you know, intraday. But we do have retailers using ESLs, changing those stores, changing all, you know, several products at night. But so the capabilities are there, the science is there to monitor the shifts in the market, the preferences of the shoppers and their price sensitivities levels as they fluctuate. It's collecting real-time competitive data on the competitors. It understands which ones impact their demand and what those thresholds are in order for it to warrant a price change versus just these price matching policies. So it's really up to the retailer, you know, how frequently they want to price, but the science will tell them when it's necessary to price. And so yes, is it the Amazon, but, you know, Amazon is also moving into brick and mortar. Amazon is expanding beyond the typical categories. They're now doing fashion. They're now doing groceries. You know, so a lot of the grocers are really starting to step up and kind of take notice beyond just, you know, do I take 50 price changes today? It's really, what's my omni-channel pricing strategy and how do I balance that? Because guess what? Shoppers are their price sensitivity levels are different online than in the store for the exact same item. So they're struggling. Do I have consistent pricing? Do I not have consistent pricing? You know, what will the shopper think? Well, we just concluded a study that 79% of shoppers realize that you can use science, you can change my prices, just give me the price you want. They also know that they expect prices to be cheaper online. It's no surprise. I think one of the things retailers do is underestimate their shoppers. You know, they just assume, oh, I can't do that because my shoppers will be upset, you know, but it's why this last study we did, we asked the shopper. So I think those retailers realize they have to do something, and they're scrambling for innovation, and they're scrambling for science. And
So Cheryl, you're responsible for product strategy for Oracle Retail, one of the largest companies in the world. Tell us lessons learned now in your new role. Success stories, maybe lessons learned through iterative models and experimentation now that you're at a company that's, not Oracle.
Yeah, so when I went to Revionics, I will say from the Oracle view, Revionics was a blip on the radar. They're now our competitor, and they fear us, along with IBM and a lot of people.
I love them.
So we kind of compete against the big guys. So how have we been successful? How is it that we don't lose deals? We do it because we invest a great deal amount of money into our products. Oracle does acquisitions and then they ignore them. So we invest. We spend a great deal there. The other is I learned some of what I brought to Revionics is what I learned not to do in the Oracle thing. Oracle was about getting customers. Today nothing's guaranteed. So it's really about retaining customers. So putting the customer first, even as a vendor, I think has been huge to our success. The other is we were able to recruit and retain incredible people. And so it's a lot about our culture, and it's a lot about our partnering with our customers. So, we don't necessarily need to go in with the suits. We're just real. We keep it real. We handhold them. The reason we have customers who have been big ones that have been with us for over 10 years, renew over and over and over again, is because we don't sell it and then ignore them. We engage. We stay constantly engaged. We know that our success is dependent upon their success. So we help them prove the value of the products every day. So it's the people, it's the culture, it's the product. And I think when you get at least the bigger companies like that, you can't use the name. And for the little guy like us, to go in and pretty much grab a lot of those customers in a business model where, they were in the cloud, they could just walk away, and they don't. And I would say that those are the reasons. And I think what I didn't like in my former world, in that environment, drove me to want to have that in a company like Revionics. So a lot of like-minded people, some of the most intelligent people in the industry. We've been able to attract great talent.
So speaking about talent, it's looking at the Glassdoor reviews. You guys are one of the hardest working firms in Austin. That's from what we're telling. Lots of folks that are very passionate. Tell us about the Austin scene for you guys, right? You guys have been in Austin for quite some time. How's it to recruit? How's it like to retain talent? How's it to attract capital?
Yeah, so I don't personally live there, but I have an office there. I'm actually in Chicago, but my husband believes I live there because I'm there most of the time. It is a great city, I will say, and the talent is amazing, especially when you've got the Salesforce and you've got IBM and Oracle and Google. So there's great talent there. You can track talent with money and all that, but it's really about how you keep it. Right. So now that ties back to the culture. It also ties back to, what we're doing. It's an exciting time to be in retail, and more importantly, in the pricing and promotional space. So it's a great environment. Our headquarters was originally in Sacramento. We've been in Austin, I want to say, for close to 6 years. Attracting capital, like I said, we are kind of the golden child out there right now. So we obviously look great, but Goldman invested in us I believe in 2014. We've not really needed to raise capital, so we do quite well.
Terrific. Cheryl, my last question, I asked the same of Jim. As the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer, where do you conduct your research in terms of setting the vision for the company, and who are some of the folks that influence your thinking?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I've been doing vision and all that for so many years. It's not a one and done. It's dynamic. It's an ongoing process. It's about making sure you stay on top of the market, make sure that you are staying on top of your competition. Like James, you talk to the analysts, but more importantly, you talk to your customers. And so really, it's an ongoing research. It's staying connected with the market. I think some of my influencers have always have been, similar to James. There's the family and all those people that influence you along the way. I have been lucky to have some former founders and former CEOs that I have the utmost respect for them, and I remain very good friends with, that have helped me along the way. I tend to, I love the Steve Jobs, I love the Larry Ellisons, and all that, and so those have been great influences for me.
Terrific.
This has been great. We were talking to Cheryl Sullivan here, Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer at Revionics. They're doing some dynamic pricing and some very interesting startup work here in Austin. And you can follow her at CAS Windy for Chicago. At CAS Windy is the Twitter handle. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Wow, terrific advice. Two extraordinary executives. Austin is
awesome innovation here.
Incredible talent, no question.
It sounds like if you're going to Austin, just watch out for the allergies. And I think Texans are a little annoyed at the Californians at the moment. That's what we've gotten so far. So no, but definitely great startups, great talent, great things. Shaku, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really great. It's
awesome.
wonderful.
So what do we have here, Vala?
We'll do so this is our cleanup hitter spot. This is where we bring someone who we know is going to hit a grand slam and for our show. So no pressure, Shaku.
No pressure. No, not at all. Okay, bye.
So our guest is Shaku Selvakumar, Vice President of Marketing at Cognitive Scale, a fast-growing company that specializes in delivering industry-specific cognitive computing solutions, a white-hot space. Shaku is a successful marketing, communication, digital leader with multi-country, multinational, and startup experience, having worked for Fortune 500 companies like IBM, Shell, and Levelify Solutions. She's also a columnist for the Financial Chronicle and wrote about social and digital trends in addition to interviewing influencers pursuing work aligned with their passion. Previously, Shaku was customer advocacy leader for social business. Before this, she was the lead social and content strategist for IBM WebSphere. Her ability to understand the macro marketing trends, align them with business priorities, and collaborate with extended ecosystem of stakeholders has won various awards, including Forrester, Groundswell, Hermes, and SIA. You can follow Shaku on Twitter at SHAKUS. Welcome, Shaku, to DisrupTV.
I should have given you a smaller bio.
Yeah, I had a very hard time shrinking your bio because you've done so much.
Well, you know how it is with bios. It can just go on and on and on.
This is awesome. No, this is awesome. Hey, tell us about this journey, right? I mean, you guys rode the wave of a category around cognitive computing. The founder of the company was an ex-IBMer in the Watson Group, and then spun this thing out. And now you're talking about augmented machine learning, machine intelligence. This is very, very cool stuff. What's happening here? Talk about this journey from startup to where you guys are today.
So I'm planning to write a book, but don't tell anyone.
Secrets of cognitive computing.
The actual scoop. Well, it's really interesting. So Matt, Manoj, Akshay, and I, we go back to Webify, and Webify was acquired by IBM in 2006. And what happened was we all went our separate ways. Matt, you know about the IBM Watson story. Matt was the lab leader. He leaves in 2013 because he has, these great ideas that he wants to, and this was just when cognitive computing was getting commercialized. And he gets in touch with me and he says, Shaku, I need a logo. And at that point, it had been a year since I'd left IBM because I wanted to write my book. I wanted nothing to do with tech. I was, completely into this other phase in my life. And I think that was when I interviewed you, Ray, when your book had come out, right? You remember?
Yep.
So Manoj, the next year, Manoj leaves IBM Watson because he wanted to start this cognitive computing ecosystem around Watson. And he comes in, and he's one of the investors, the big investor in the fund, and the chairman, executive chairman. And Akshay joins soon after. And AI at that point was still Terminator, was still, the evil science fiction thing that comes and ruins the world. And at that point, nobody really could figure out what outcomes AI or cognitive computing could deliver. And that was and we came out of stealth mode in 2014. I remember you and I meeting at IBM Interconnect. We had that discussion with you, Matt, and I. But the proverbial, it hits the roof. I would say the turning point was last year, when now every company says that they are an AI company. But the fact of the matter is, this is hard work. Mm-hmm. And this is not something that just pops out of the box and you hand it over and you walk away. And what we are seeing more customers, when we started, customers were, what is artificial intelligence? Now they want to understand and now the questions are tougher. Now they want to know, how do you construct this the right way? Because if you look at what happened with the internet, when you look at what happened with the social channels, innovation without the fundamental structure around it to do good, to be robust, to be reliable, to scale, can actually start creating problems for companies. So, which is why we're really proud of being involved with AI Austin. We're one of the founding partners, and AI Austin is an initiative that is looking at innovation and building it around an ethical construct, responsibly, and not just, okay, let me take this tool here from this startup, let me work with this company, and then build a hodgepodge, which is not really going to be able to scale.
Sure. Well, you're absolutely right. The acceleration from Terminator understanding of AI to today is incredible.
Westworld.
Yeah. Ethics in AI is one of the 14 systems that the World Economic Forum is tracking as a major initiative. I just hosted a CIO event in Toronto, Canada, with 100 CIOs with peak interest in AI. The government this month donated a $125 million plus grant for the Vector Institute and University of Toronto at the center of trying to retain talent in the AI space in Canada. And there's about 1,750 AI startups that in the last 2 years have fetched $15 billion in funding from VCs. So you're in a white hot space, no question.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about what business problem is Cognitive Scale trying to solve, and what are some of the outcomes you've achieved so far?
Well, we started, when we started, we went into healthcare. And if you look at, and this is again, vertical specific enterprise AI is where we play. We're not solving everything for anyone. Going broad with data does not work. And I know that Bala, your recent report, what was that? 77% of your IT leaders are actually they see business as partners. So this is this fundamental shift that we're seeing here with the cloud, with social, mobile, data, blockchain, all this convergence. What it's done is it is starting to break down the silos within the organization. And so we, when we talk about business technology, AI, despite the way it sounds, is actually the perfect technology that businesses can understand. And I often joke, I say I don't speak geek. I can translate, but I don't.
Don't worry, Ray's here to translate for us.
In fact,
140 characters.
I kid you not. I still go back to Ray's CIO grid, where we're looking at the different kinds of companies. We actually, unlike SOA, which was also one of the emerging technologies a decade ago, with AI, we are seeing that the companies that we started with were truly early adopters. They truly wanted to leapfrog and go into this with this technology. And if you look at all the research firms, some people are calling it, Gartner calls it smart machines, Forrester calls it systems of insights, you've got IDC calling it cognitive computing. And I know, Ray, you integrated in with digital transformation, but the fact of it remains that the business is buying into it. So whether we have a conversation with the CMIO or the CIO at MD Anderson, or when we're talking to we're not allowed to give out names because everything's under NDA.
I was like, this is good. Keep going.
We're getting breaking news.
We're talking to CMOs. We're talking to the chief merchandising officers, the strategy officers, and they are all validating. And the CDO in my book is the chief digital officer. It's the chief data officer. So these two roles are also becoming critical in an organization, and they are working with the CTOs and the CIOs. So your business is as complex as it can be, but now the silos, they understand why the silos need to come down, because enterprise information within the enterprise and information outside the enterprise is causing this big tsunami of overwhelming data. And what you don't know is actually paralyzing businesses, because they don't even know that they know they have a problem.
Right.
But they know that they're missing something, because there's just so much out there.
And it's hard not to speak geek in this space, because, and I spent first part of my career as a double E writing complex algorithms and code, and you hear neural networks and deep learning and machine learning, natural language processing, smart data discovery, virtual assistant, and you're just like,
chatbots.
Yeah, chatbots. Of course. How could I miss chatbots? And they're all
and robots. Yeah,
absolutely. They're all important technologies. And in fact, I don't know, was it William Gibson who said the future is already here, just not evenly distributed? All of these technologies are powering some of our most loved apps that we use in our lives, whether it's Alexa, Siri, this, that, and the other. Amazon, Facebook, all these technologies are powered by these cool technologies. So how do you make sense of, how can you avoid not speaking geek when you have all these different different branches within the data science, capability spectrum?
Well, one of the things that we are doing is, I don't know which of the speakers mentioned it. We are actually, we don't believe in selling a tool and then running away. The whole notion of understanding the vertical, understanding the bringing in the data, work, our industry-specific content, the graphs, the pre-curated industry, the graphs, this and the machine learning algorithms. What we're seeing is this becomes important when we talk about cognitive systems. Cognitive systems are not passive intelligence. It's active intelligence, which means that it's not, every interaction doesn't get over and you don't start all over again at ground zero, right? If you are a patient, you go to a doctor today, your doctor, even if they've known you for the last 20 years, they still look at you and they have to recollect what exactly is wrong with you. And then they do not have any idea of all the other specialists that you've seen. So with MD Anderson, this whole cancer journey it doesn't start at MD Anderson. It actually starts way beyond. And the CIO of MD Anderson actually calls it from seeking to survivorship, because your illness at some point becomes part of your identity. And another, and it's, take for instance the type 1 diabetes, the adolescent who goes from managed care, he's at home, and suddenly he's now graduated and he's going to college. He is going to self-managed care. And so prevention and care that starts in your own environment rather than at the hospital, there is something called augmented intelligence is different from pure AI, because a little bit of AI goes a long way. And so you can see this being applied to your, you at the user engagement with patients, with shoppers, with your wealth clients. You can see it being, applied with business processes like claims transformation. A little AI applied to the claims denial process can immediately result in reduction of cost for an organization. And there's another quote, it's not mine, but I read somewhere that boring can make you billions. We often want something to be, transformative, big, but incremental. And so what we do is we have something called the 10-10-10 methodology, where we don't come in and say, give us millions of dollars, give us 2 years of your time, your team, and then maybe you'll see results. We actually say, let's start with a project, identify a use case. We deliver it in 100 days, you see the outcome, and then you start looking at other use cases all through the industry lens.
Oh, come on. I love the Palantir model.
Oh, okay. Don't get me into trouble now, Ray.
I'm not going to get into trouble. All right. Anyways, so what's going on in Austin? Like what's hot? What's happening on the tech scene, culture? And talk a little bit about your last LinkedIn post on your 4-letter word duty. Let's hit this.
Oh my goodness, you read about that. So, okay. I learned from many people. Austin, just really quick, this is rapid fire, I have 3 minutes. Austin's hot, we're cool. The other 4-letter word I think that we all need to embrace is duty, because we're such an entitled bunch of people. We whine and complain about everything. We have everyone wanting to become the CEO. But the fact is, go do your job, do it well, be accountable, be responsible, be reliable, and you're gonna get there. We're all gonna get there, And I just get annoyed when people are complaining about stuff where, 3/4 of the world is suffering, and so I have no patience for that. Sorry.
I love it.
Was that really bad?
No, that was awesome.
No, the post is awesome. I mean, the post is
hot. Austin is cool, and stop complaining. Get stuff done. I
just want to add one more thing. I'm learning from my children, and I think that's what there was a learning path which was linear, where you'd say, well, I'm your dad, I'm your mom, listen to me, I know it all. But my daughter, shares her Spotify music with me, and she is going off to college, and she's got me tickets to Alt J. So she tells me what to do on Snapchat. I think the important thing is, even in the workforce, we need to learn from the generations, the cross generations, because there are the baby boomers, there's the Gen X, there's millennials, there's Gen Z coming in, and I think we need to figure out, how do we help them not be insecure that they're going to steal our jobs? Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but if you're truly confident, that should not worry you. Okay, I might drop.
No. Yeah, that's awesome.
You hit a grand slam. You are cool, and you definitely have to come back on DisrupTV.
And you guys come over to Austin anytime. We'll have all the tacos there, laid out for you.
Another Chilantra visit. We are talking to Shaku Selvakumar, Vice President of Marketing, Cognitive Scale, Twitter at Shaku S. You can catch up with her and catch up all the cool things. And then, of course, follow her exciting chairman who actually does the Austin Grand Prix, among other crazy things that man does. So take care. Thanks a lot for having us here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
Wow. ATX.
This is why it's the fastest hour for me on Friday afternoons. 3 extraordinary business leaders who are, competing with Silicon Valley and growing businesses, customers in Austin. Pretty awesome, Ray.
No, it's pretty cool. And in fact, I think we're going to be doing other segments. So, we'll probably hit up Tel Aviv. We'll do Silicon Beach, Silicon Slopes, LA and Utah and Salt Lake City, for those who don't know where. We've got to hit Bangalore. Definitely hot startups there.
Germany,
Singapore, Germany. Definitely. We're doing that. I mean, so yeah. So if you got a great startup, definitely let us know. We are going to be doing some regional series. I'm sure we missed at least 20 other startups here in Austin. But yeah. So what's going on next week? We've got some very interesting folks next week here.
We do. We have Nicole Raimundo, CIO of Town of Cary, and she's going to talk about not just their Mobile 311, not their cloud mobile social AI, IoT initiatives, one of the brightest CIOs in the government space. Jitu Patel, Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Platform at Box, another unicorn and now a successful digital native disruptor company. And then we're bringing, Esteban Kolsky, principal founder of ThinkJar. Esteban grounds Ray and I.
He's just disruptive.
Yeah, he's just there to disrupt Ray and I. So,
so we all know what to expect.
One of the brightest analysts covering enterprise software. And so it's going to be a jam-packed show next week.
Join us for episode 60, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, DisrupTV. If it's Friday, it's DisrupTV. We'll see you there.